Good morning. In this lesson you are going to be considering the problems in Dharavi in Mumbai, and you're going to be doing something called a decision making exercise. This is where you make decisions about how you could try and improve the lives, the quality of life for the people who live in Dharavi. So to start off with, what I'm going to ask you to do as a starter activity is this. So you've got a series of concentric circles, so you need to make sure you've got those in front of you. Then what I've given you is I've given you some cards with lots of different factors on them. And what I'd like you to do is decide which ones are the most important and which are the least important in terms of people's survival. So you can put 3 in each of the circles. All right, so I'll do an example for you. So you can cut these out and you can put them where you think they go. Now this is your opinion, okay? There isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer, although some of them are pretty important. Let's have a look. So for example, water is one of them. So I decided that water was critical for survival. So therefore I thought it was the most important factor, so I can put it in there. But you can also put 2 others in most important as well. And then you keep going. If you've got any left at the end, they can just go around the outside. A job I thought was important because it means that people have an income, which means that they can buy food and they can pay for housing and shelter. However, I didn't think it was essential, so therefore I didn't put it in the central circle. So I'd like you to have a go at doing that activity now, so you can pause the video to have a go at it. Right, what you should end up with is something that looks a little bit like this. So you've decided what you think are the most important things and you've stuck them into the circle. Now we're going to be using this later on because you're going to be making some decisions, and to make those decisions you're going to have to consider the things that you think are the most important to human survival, okay, and how you can provide those for people who live in slums. So I've got some different keywords. What I'd like you to do is, these are keywords that are going to be used in this lesson. So the first thing I'd like you to do is have a look at these keywords here and see if you can work out what they mean. So see if you know what the definition is. And if you don't, we're going to go through them now and find out what the definition is. So the first one says informal sector. So informal sector means it's a job that is not a legal job. For example, you don't pay taxes on it, and you don't have the normal sort of health and safety guidance, so you might get paid cash in hand. For example, and I'll put an example like shoe polishing. So maybe if you were to go out in the street, offer to polish someone's shoes, and you get a certain amount of money just handed to you for that. You don't pay taxes on that. The next one is refuse collection. Refuse collection means rubbish collection. Sanitation. So sanitation means sewage systems and toilets. Community centre means it's a place where local people could go and meet up and different activities can be organised. A bit like a village hall. Pre-qualified means already trained. So a pre-qualified teacher would be a teacher that's got a qualification in teaching. A delegation, so a delegation is a group of people from the town who ask for help. So a delegation is like a group of people that you would send maybe to the local council to ask for some funding. The environment is the landscape, plants, trees, housing, the general area. What's the area like? And economy means money and jobs. If you get stuck during this lesson, you can always come back and have a look at these keywords. Right, what I'd like you to do is I've given you an information sheet on Dharavi, and what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to highlight the problems that you think are the greatest problems on the sheet. So if I just show you what I'm going to give you, so it looks a little bit like this. So this is an information sheet on Dharavi, and in it you've got a little introduction that tells you about the slum, and around the outside you've got lots of different problems. And I'd like you to pick 3 or 4 that you think are the biggest issues facing Dharavi, and you can just highlight them on the sheet a little bit like this. So just choose the ones that you think are the most serious problems. Yours won't necessarily be the same as the one I just showed you. Choose for yourself what you think the major issues are. Right, now you've done that, we're going to do an activity either in pairs or you can do it individually, where you are going to decide how you can improve a section of Dharavi. Improving the whole slum would take years and a huge amount of money. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to pretend that you're a new charity, and you are going to try and improve lives, the quality of life for the people in Dharavi. You're going to be given some money. So you're going to be given 400, they're called Shantytown points, STP. So they're not in proper Indian currency, so that's how much you've got to spend, 400 STPs. And you're going to spend them on trying to improve the area. You can spend 200 of them in the first year, and you can spend 200 in the second year. So these are the activities you're going to do. The first thing you're going to do is, with your partner or on your own, you're going to write down the 3 things that you want to improve, okay, for the first year. So I'll show you an example of this. So over here, you've got a planning sheet, and I'd like you to write down your main priorities, okay? So you can do your top 3. You can do a 4th one if you'd like to, that's up to you. So have a look at your problems sheet, and let's say if I went back to my problems sheet, then let's say this one here, the crime rate is high in parts of Dharavi. So that might be for you a major priority that needs tackling. So you would write down, number 1, is stop crime in Dharavi, or reduce crime in Dharavi. That might be your first priority. Then go back to this again. You might have this one here, 77% of households do not have access to clean water. So if we go forwards, then you can go back to here and you can put, we need to provide clean water to the people in Dharavi. This here is a map of the area that you're improving, and these are all the houses. These are the roads that go around them. You've got a stream over here, and this is the industrial areas. This is where you've got factories and industries. All right, so you might want to use this because you might have to figure out which buildings, you might have to count up the buildings depending on what you decide to do later on. So once you've done this and you've done your 3 main priorities, you're going to ask me for the items that you can purchase. Now, in terms of that, I'm going to give you them straight away, so I'll provide you with them. I want you to read through the items and choose the ones you want to build in the first year, and then you're going to write those ones that you've chosen onto the planning sheet. So let's have a look at them. So, for example, you will get something that looks like these. So you have more than these, but I've just picked out 6 of them to show you. So let's say you decided to provide training for 1 teacher so that you can employ a teacher. That's going to cost you 30 STP. So what you would do is, when you've chosen the different things you would like to do, you would go to your planning sheet, which is here, and you write down what you want to do. Now, the student here decided to build 2 local water taps in the area. So they've put in local water tap times 2. This is the cost, and this is the reasons. They've explained why they've done that. Then go on to your next one and write it down. Now don't forget, you've only got 200 that you can spend in the first year, and then 200 in the second year. So you need to work your way through it and fill in your planning sheet to decide what you would like to do to improve the area on the map here. With some of them, they might be per house, so it might say electricity connection per house. So you'd have to decide how many houses you were able to do and put that on there. So you might only be able to afford to do 10 houses. You know, you might not be able to afford to connect electricity up to every single house there. That's why you need this map. Right, when you've done this, okay, it says then you choose the items you want to build in the second year. So once you've done your first year of improvements, go to the second year, and you've got a further 200 STP that you can spend, and you can now choose what you would like to build in the second year as well. In the long term, at the very bottom, in the long term, you can put down any future plans you have following the improvements you've made. And so this should be taking you about an hour to do this planning and to complete those planning sheets. When you've done that, this is what I'd like you to do next. So what I'm going to ask you to do next is you're going to have a go at writing a report about what you did. So within this report, I'd like you to write down what you did in the first year and why you did it, what you did in the second year and why you did it, why do you think doing X was more important than doing Y, justifying. So in other words, if you decided to build water pipes but you say didn't decide to paint the houses, why did you choose to do one over the other? Why did you decide one was more important? how would your improvements improve lives for the residents in the long term? So you need to also go on to explain that in your report. So your report, you don't need to do every single thing you did within your report, but it should be about a page long, maybe 2 pages long. If you need some help writing your report, I've put a frame to sort of start you off here. Okay, so you can start off with my priorities for developing Dharavi were to provide clean water to the residents, reduce crime in the area, and so on. In the first year, I decided to build some water taps. This is because, and then you explain your reasons. This is an example of a report here. So you can pause the video and you can read through this if you'd like to, and it will give you an example of how to write your report and what your report should be looking like. So I'll also just put these up here as well. So when you are explaining what you did, it would be really useful if you could use these words within your report: economy, the environment, and social. And if you need to just check what the definitions are for those words, then they are there as well. So it's good to use these 3 different terms when you're talking about improvements that you've made. When you finish your report, you've finished, and then you can hand all your work in to me.